Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let's talk honeypot. What is the Sayanim? This case against Kash Patel's girlfriend. Let's talk about that, shall we? Let's talk. It's kind of a little cruel that, you know, first off, if you didn't know, they're accusing her of being a Mossad agent. Clearly she's not a Mossad agent. What they do say is that she was part of the Israeli NSA, which would be Unit 8200. So she's a graduate of Unit 8200. Really? I guess I should look that up before starting. That would help, but I was being lazy, but I better look that up first. Okay, I'm using ChatGPT now. It pisses all over Gemini. Trust me, ChatGPT, wow, way better for multiple reasons. Anyway, did Kash Patel's Israeli girlfriend serve in Unit 8200? Now let's kill some dolphins with all the energy that's about to be expended on this large language model. Waiting, searching the web. There is no credible evidence that Alexis Wilkins, the pastor of Kash, served in Unit 8200, the Israeli Defense Force. Wilkins publicly denied, blah, 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 blah. So she's got her defamation lawsuit. Thank you, large language model. We definitely know you'd be telling the truth. Oh, I've had some fun with large language models, let me tell you. All right, let's go and watch good old sexy Anna Kasparian, the man who says Al-Qaeda did 9/11, so we can trust all these incredible alt media stars who are doing nothing more than dispensing the energy. As Adam Curtis says, the great Adam Curtis, angry people click more. We'll just get them talking and balking like chickens and bark, Israel. Nothing changes, nothing happens. No one interacts with police. No one knows who Lee Levino is. No one knows who Mary Silva is in the incredible work. If you don't know who they are, look below. See Mary Silva in front of 300 top Republicans almost 2 years ago, 18 months ago, pulling the whole conspiracy about US critical infrastructure, Israel, Microsoft core coded in Israel, Intel Corporation, incredible work. Lee Levino, incredible work. His video below. Go and watch that. Now let's start and let's listen to what Anna Kasparian, 19 Arab hijackers did 9/11. Oh, maybe Israel had something to do with it, with some dancing Israelis. It's 25 years on and we still got this bullshit and no one will interview Chris Berlin. Okay, just testing the sound levels. It's all good. Let's roll.
For some reason, the Epstein thing gets blamed on you. And there's a lot of this on the internet. There are people with millions and millions of followers in posts that have been seen millions and millions of times accusing you of being a spy for Israel.
Aside from all the other stuff that's hurtful, the fact that I've dedicated myself to this movement, to good values, to speaking to children, to doing things that I thought were good.
She's lying. Let me do Brendon, the body language guy. Hussis, OConnell, Rosalia. Let me do my body language. Absolute lie. Look at her eyes. Look at the way she looked down. She knows exactly what she is. She's a Sayanim. A lot of people don't know what a Sayanim is. A Sayanim is a helper for Israeli intelligence. And bottom line is this. If you're a dual national Israeli citizen, number one. Number two, you're hanging out with Israeli first pieces of SHIT, then yes, you are by default a Sayanim. And we'll talk about that by looking at my UN document. If you don't know what it is, that's it there. And I go into this 1,018 pages. You'll love it. Trust me. Link below. Let's hear her carry on. She is a liar. I can tell she is lying just by her eyes, the way she looks down. When you are really telling the truth, you're firm, you're strong, you're angry, it's like kinesiology with muscle tension. It's how a lie detector, because the body will respond to a lie. The body is natural. The body wants to express. And when you lie, the body will give you away, somatic, your bodily responses. She is a effing liar. She knows she works for Israel, but she's no Mossad spy. It's silly. Use the right term. She is a Sayanim. She is a Jewish helper.
That were in line with my values, but also the fact that it's...
yes. Now she reestablishes eye contact. Who says, Rosalia, get out of the way. O'Connell's body language is here.
It's accusing me of manipulating the person that I'm with, that I love. You know, it's a horrible accusation.
Oh, it's so horrible. She's offended. Do you remember when Jewish community leader Steve Lieblich, graduate of the Technion, and I absolutely guarantee Unit 8200 electrical engineer, he offended me. He called me an Israeli spy. They were charging me with that. I mean, let me quickly get that up. Every damn thing they accuse people of was done to me a long time. This is Steve Lieblich. He's a CATSA, case officer for Israeli intelligence. So I wrote to him in the email, hey Steve, I haven't forgotten you, and I believe ASIO, which is the Australian CIA, and Australian Federal Police would like to know you better also. Then it says, this email offended me. It accused me of deceit, and it is also replete with anti-Semitic lies about the Jewish people, which I find offensive. They raided my freaking house. I was going back to uni. I lost everything. Again, this FR. You want me to be nice about it? Hey Steve, you laughing now? Your little buddy Stanley Keyser was talking about me recently. I couldn't look at it. Mary sent me the link. I couldn't look at it. I cannot look at that little piece of shit with his t-shirt shop. And we know what these Israeli with t-shirt shops are. I find this comment offensive because it falsely implies that I am an Israeli spy. And there's Detective Valletta's signature. An absolute piece of shit detective. I will never forget. Never will I forget Detective Valletta. Never. You're on my brain night and day, like you with your sister. I know people that know you, Valletta. You're a piece of shit. Seconded to the Australian Federal Police. You should be in jail. You tamper with evidence. You lie under oath. I go to court. Everyone covers for you. You are the blue bikies. So I hate the police now. I hate the police. Despise the police. My old man was a cop. Former superintendent of recruiting is a close family friend. My old man's old sergeant. My friends were police. I hate the police. I've seen too much now, man. Seen way too much now. And all the coppers that came to me who'd left in disgust. I got to stop. I have to stop. Let's go on. I'm just amazed that this stuff comes up now. It's like, oh, it's a big deal. Well, was it a big deal when it was done to me 15 freaking years ago? Apparently not. Not even worth talking about.
That was the girlfriend of FBI Director Kash Patel. Her name is Alexis Wilkins. And the conversation...
Yeah, what's her real name? Let's guess her real name. Is it stone, steel, gold, diamond? No, it's Wilkins, okay. Is this Alexis Scheinenbaum von Stuckenhoop III? What is it? What's her real name?
Conversation she was having with Megyn Kelly dates back to July of this year. She was essentially addressing allegations that she is part of a Mossad honeypot scheme, which I personally haven't seen any evidence of whatsoever. It's entirely possible that Kash Patel is really bad at his job because Kash Patel is not qualified for the job that he was appointed for.
No way. No way.
But nonetheless, she's...
Epstein killed himself.
Is now seeking $5 million in damages in the 3 defamation lawsuits that she has now filed against individuals who are claiming that she is a Mossad agent, or at least that's what she's claiming that they're saying about her. Now, look, I'm going to be honest. I don't follow the work of these individuals closely. So I don't know whether they actually have just flat out said this woman is a Mossad honeypot. But what I do know is...
Well, she could be a Mossad honeypot, most likely, but it's a Sayanim. That's not a member of the Mossad.
Being defamed sucks.
Anyway, she goes on to say, well, Kash is pretty ugly. I think it's a bit harsh. I work with a lot of women. I was a former registered nurse. I know a lot of women. I talk to women a lot. Women, you know, they're attracted to power. And, you know, Kash Patel, he's smart. He looks okay in his suit. I think they're being a bit harsh on his looks. It's like, that's a little low. But I'd be looking at other things, but maybe that's part of the deception plan. We'll focus on his looks and that he's a Hindu and blah, 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 blah. Regardless, let's now see what the book of Esther, these are traditions within Jewish tradition, we need to talk about. So we'll go down to my incredible 1,018-page UNHCR document. We'll go to the index. And we are going to go down to a document. See how easy this is to find? My High Court synopsis. This was written in jail. Have a look at the index. Be impressed. This was written in 2012 with a badly broken arm. So I just didn't do it in a maximum security jail, Albany Regional Prison. I didn't just I hand typed it one finger while my right arm was badly displaced fracture, which went untreated for 6 weeks. Can't make this stuff up. So let's go down to the Sayanim. Where are we? We'll go down to the notion of a Sayanim. Where are we? Sayanim, local Jews act as helpers for Israeli intelligence. Let's go down there, and we've got prisoner X, Sayanim. Let's go down here. Here we go. Sayanim, local Jews act as helpers for Israeli intelligence. It's all good stuff. You ready? Let's get this up here. This is Viktor Ostrowski. And this is if I wanted to, where's Viktor Ostrowski? Is he alive? Where's Reverend Ted Pike? Where's Michael Hoffman III? Revisionisthistory.org. Where's Professor Shlomo Sand? Where's Gilad Atzmon? Why are we hearing from effing homosexual Nick Fuentes, the closet supposed conservative Catholic? Why are we, who loves Stalin and Hitler? Why is Tucker Carlson interviewing him, doing soft porn, and not getting the professionals in? Why isn't Professor Shlomo Sand, the writer of The Invention of the Jewish People, why isn't he being interviewed? Even Finkelstein, who I've gone off a bit, I think he went a bit crazy after the Hamas thing. But, you know, where's Finkelstein? Where's Professor Shlomo Sand? Where's Michael Hoffman? Where's Reverend Ted Pike? Where's Viktor Ostrowski? Why aren't we hearing from normal people who could diffuse situations? You're not meant to hear from normal people. This is just about you venting your feelings online, as Adam Curtis says. Angry people, click more. So this is an incredible document. It's always linked below. You can always find it. It's a 100 megabyte download. Added to the above topic, I also write, this is me writing from jail, I also write about the Israeli Mossad's use of local Jews within various communities around the world to assist the state of Israel in operations. Here is a quote from a former Mossad officer, Mr. Viktor Ostrowski, from his book, By Way of Deception, The Making and Unmaking of a Mossad Officer. The next day, Ryan S. delivered a lecture on the Sayanim, a unique and important part of the Mossad's operation. Sayanim, or assistants or helpers, must be 100% Jewish. They live abroad, and though they are not Israeli citizens, many are reached through their relatives in Israel. Just to remind you, what he's really talking about is an illegal, like the Russian GRU, long-term sleepers, illegals. That's what they are. An Israeli with a relative in England, for example, might be asked to write a letter saying the person bearing the letter represents an organisation whose main goal is to help save Jewish people in the diaspora. Could the British relative help in any way? There are thousands of Sayanim around the world. Isn't that right, Kash Patel? You're probably with one, I guarantee you are. And we'll talk about the book of Esther and the tradition of marrying Jews, Jewish women, specifically being set out to marry non-Jews or people of interest to further the goals of the Jewish people. In London alone, there may be about 2,000 who are active and another 5,000 on the list. They fulfill many different roles. A car Sayan, for example, running a rental agency, could help the Mossad rent a car without having to complete the usual documentation. An apartment Sayan would find accommodation without raising suspicions. A bank Sayan could get you money if you needed it in the middle of the night. A doctor Sayan would treat a bullet wound without reporting it to the police, and so on. The idea is to have a pool of people available when needed who can provide services but will keep quiet about them out of loyalty to the cause. They are paid only costs. Often the loyalty of Sayanim is abused by Katzers, that's a case officer for Israeli intelligence, who take advantage of the available help for their own personal use. There is no way for the Sayan to check this. One thing you know for sure, that is, even if the Jewish person knows it is the Mossad, he might not agree to work with you, but he won't turn you in. You have at your disposal a non-risk recruitment system that actually gives you a pool of millions of Jewish people to tap from outside your borders. It's much easier to operate with what is available on the spot, and Sayanim offer incredible practical support everywhere, but they are never put at risk, nor are they privy to classified information. Remember, police were interviewing me about these very concepts. So this is Mr. Stanley Elliott Keyser, the local Jewish Sayan who brought the charges against me. Mr. Stanley Elliott Keyser, complaining in my case, fits the profile of a local Sayanim working for the Israeli state. He is president of the local Perth Australian Union of Jewish Students, head of the Perth chapter of Habenin Doro, a radical socialist Zionist youth group dedicated to the state of Israel, and also a regular attendee at the most notorious, fanatical, fundamentalist Jewish religious sect on the planet, Chabad Lubavitch. Literal Nazis. Literal Nazis. I have more respect for Nazis than Chabad, they're even worse. Also with regard to Sayanim, Leon Wend is an Australian Jew who travels to Israel frequently with family Orthodox Jews who live there. He continues to work with the Israeli Defence Force and has high security clearances here in Australia via the Australian Defence Industries. How many more of these Sayanim are employed in both the private and public sector? By the way, Ostrovsky laments that if the concept of the Sayanim becomes widely known, quote, the one problem with the system is that the Mossad does not seem to care how devastating it could be to the status of the Jewish people in the diaspora if it was known. The answer you get back is, So what's the worst that could happen to those Jews? They'd all come to Israel. Great. Now do you ever wonder why Tucker Carlson's there ragging on the Jews? The intent is not to bring enlightenment and solve a problem and bring peace, get rid of long-term sleepers, arrest the guilty. No, his purpose is to rag on Jews, to Jew-bait, to push issues, to make American Jews really stressful so they will support Benjamin Netanyahu. They may not like him, but they'll always be getting told by all the Sayanim within their groups or the Israeli Defense Force personnel within their communities, oh man, you may not love Bibi, but you might need the state of Israel. Oh, there's Goya getting uppity. They might turn on us. Oh boy. That's the game they play. This is a common theme, getting his Jews to come to Israel. And then I read from the VAR, editor Sharon of the Labour Party. I shall not be ashamed to confess that if I had the power as I have the will, I would select a score of efficient young men, intelligent, decent, devoted to our ideal and burning with desire to help redeem Jews. And I would send them to the countries where Jews are absorbed in sinful self-satisfaction. The task of these young men would be to disguise themselves, Nick Fuentes, as non-Jews and plague these Jews, isn't that right, Adam Green, with anti-Semitic slogans such as bloody Jew. Jews go to Palestine and similar intimacies. I can vouch that the results in terms of considerable immigration to Israel from those countries would be 10,000 times larger than the results brought by thousands of emissaries who have been for decades preaching to deaf ears. Note that recently a man on the FBI 10 most wanted list was found in Israel. What is intriguing is that he was the former head of a chapter of the Ku Klux Klan in the US. Israel has some of the most tightly controlled borders in the world. How can this be? Why would, I don't know, same reason that Adam Green got into Israel somehow. Why would someone espousing notions of white Aryan supremacism and with a core hatred of Jews as the racial enemy of mankind hide out in Israel? Apparently he stated that he thought Israel would be the last place anyone would look. The man, Emanuel, is a Jew, and every time you find white nationalist movement, these marches in Charlottesville, it's always organised by Jews, always organised by Israeli intel, always. And there's these articles. Again, download my article. This was done in jail. Jews found and lead these organisations to make the appearance of a dangerous hatred of Jews just around the corner. Also, a man named Frank Collins led a march through an American town in the late 80s. All of the participants were dressed in full Nazi regalia. He had a local chapter of the American National Socialist Party. Little old Jewish ladies were fainting. A repeat of the Holocaust was mentioned. The mainstream news media made much of it. A few months later, the local sheriff from a nearby town came forward and local news noted that Mr. Frank Collins' real name was, I can't remember, I had to do this from memory, cliche Jewish name, and he was a Jew from the next town. A Jewish man, James Mitchell Rosenberg, was also caught out playing agent provocateur for the ADL, and you can go and look through all this. We then go into identity theft may have been Israelis' gold. This is from 2011 after the big earthquake in New Zealand. Police database like goals to spies, says security expert Hager, which is their secret intelligence service in New Zealand. Prisoner X, remember Prisoner X? Now this is from my transcript. But I am willing, this is me talking in court, but I'm willing to even concede the DPP. There may be operational matters the police are undertaking and have undertaken. They don't want Big Mouth O'Connell being too loud, but should read my transcripts. Perhaps no better example of a Sayanim, besides Stanley Elliott Keyser and good old Steve Lieblich, and Leon Wen, perhaps no better example of a Sayanim has appeared lately than the case of Australian citizen Ben Zigia. Who remembers? And death in a suicide-proof jail in Israel. I don't believe he's dead at all. He's alive. In mid-February 2013, Australia's premier investigative reporting outfit, Four Corners, exposed the story to the world. By the way, their lead reporter got back in touch with me and said, get back to us in early 2011 and we're going to look at doing a story. And guess what? I was in jail for 3 years. Fancy that. He has been named as a possible Mossad agent, but perhaps he was just a Sayanim. He apparently disappeared from Australia in March of 2010. In April 2010, I had this to say at a court hearing, just after the exposure of Australian passports being used in the assassination of a Palestinian resistance fighter. So this is Chief Judge Martino. He was a good judge. He was a very good judge. Yes, is there anything else you wish to raise with me at this stage? Accused. They always make me sound like a bum. Yeah, mate, here you go. That's how they make me sound. This is how I talk. Yes. I wouldn't have said, yeah. One of my favourite subjects is, of course, Israeli intel. Someone tell Whitney Webb, the journalist, who's the star. Whitney's the star. Now the journalists are the star. No. Someone tell Whitney, hey, Whitney, Brendan O'Connell's the star. I hate to break it to you, the guy that went to jail for 3 years was raising these issues 15, 20 years ago. You know that guy? You know the guy where the Israeli ambassador came out against him and the deputy foreign minister? You know that guy? You're the journalist, right? You might want to interview me. She's so arrogant. She said, I won't do an interview with him. Why would I be looking to interview you, you dumb bitch? You interview me, journalist. What a fucking joke. God, the internet drives me insane. No, you're jealous about Whitney. And it's like, what do you got, this little fan club? Dear God, you're a joke, Webb. Trust me, Whitney Webb will fade. But she's not going to be forgotten. Yeah, one of my favourite subjects is, of course, Israeli intelligence. This is the transcript. Israeli intelligence activity in this country to do with Campbell Barracks, which is the SAS base, Sydney Rail Transit System, the recent tender of $300 million contract with the military, which is Variant, $600 million contract with Amdocs, an Israeli intelligence front company with Telstra, giving all the billing details of all Australians. With that in mind, I plan to upload material on the internet that I wanted to make clear with the DPP, which is the Department of Public Prosecutions, like the DA's office, and yourself, and also begin a pamphlet campaign across multiple capital cities in Australia. Now, I was setting them up. I want them to admit that Israeli intelligence activity, this is March 2010, I wanted them to admit that Israeli intelligence was a part of the case. And I was grinning from ear to ear as I said it. I just wanted on the record a very clear indication from the DPP whether Israeli intelligence activity is a part of my case, the prosecution. You'd think someone might be interested. Well, they were. Iran Press TV, Hammer Federali. Then they said they wouldn't give him any money to do the documentary. Of course they wouldn't. Now, Chief Judge Martino replies, because I could see the look on his face, he's going, oh, I know what you're up to. Well, Mr. O'Connell, as I think I've explained to you, I can't give you legal advice. I've imposed bail conditions on you. They include not to publish directly or indirectly any material relating to this prosecution. That's all I can say on that. Then I say, in reply, would then the DPP be able to clarify whether Israeli intelligence activity in Australia is a part of the prosecution? Now, this is Mr. Duncan, the DPP representative, the prosecutor. Well, Your Honour, I'm not going to provide advice to this man either. And that is a lie. They are obliged to provide advice to the unrepresented legal, the accused. That is absolutely in the rule book. They were both meant to supply, advocate and push the case forward by giving all the advice they can. I mean, it's for him to decide. I might want to consider how close he's coming to raising similar issues to that which will be the subject of the trial. Then he asked me to write him a letter. Here's a report from the West Australian newspaper recently on the subject of Australian Jew Ben Zigier. And who remembers that one? Now we get to the concept, the Book of Esther. Now listen to this. That's Matthew Carney. I contacted Matthew Carney from Four Corners in December of 2020 about my case and what was happening. He said that he was interested and to contact him again when production resumed in February 2011. I was, of course, in jail by then. Four Corners, of course, spoke the prisoner Esther. My brother-in-law's sister is married to Matthew Carney. So he's the brother-in-law of Matthew Carney. He's like one of the top reporters in Australia. Now, this is what I also write in a summary. What about male-female Anglo-Australians being sought out by attractive Israelis, or maybe Indians, or Australian Jews to marry and further Israeli Jewish interests? The cousin of former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Olmert, is married to an Australian Federal Labor Member of Parliament and former Australian Defence Force and UN officer whose name escapes me. This Jewish tradition of marrying to enhance Jewish power goes back to the Old Testament and the Book of Esther, where beautiful Esther keeps her Jewish faith secret and marries King Xerxes of Persia to prevent the murder of Jews in the region. She organizes the execution of enemies of the Jews. This tradition is celebrated as Purim, and it's also got a lot to do with Halloween. So this is from Book of Esther 2:1, the Old Testament or Tanakh. Later, when the anger of King Xerxes had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what he had decreed about her. Then the king's personal attendants proposed, quote, "Let a search be made for the beautiful young virgins for the king. Then let the girl who pleases the king be queen instead of Vashti." Now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin named Mordecai, son of Jair, who had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, among those taken captive with Joachim, king of Judah. Mordecai had a cousin named Hadassah. This lovely girl, who was also known as Esther, was lovely in form and features. When the king's order and edict had been proclaimed, many girls were brought to the citadel of Susa and put under the care of Haggai. Esther was also taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Haggai, who had charge of the harem. The girl pleased him and won his favour. Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so. Now the king was attracted to Esther more than to any of the other women, and she won his favour and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. When the virgins were assembled a second time, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. But Esther had kept secret her family background and nationality, just as Mordecai had told her to do, for she had continued to follow Mordecai's instructions as she had done when he was bringing her up. And so she then manipulates the king and makes sure that he kills all the enemies of the Jews. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? Melania Trump? Russian GRU asset? Maybe so. This is an important point that deserves elaboration. Talking about Ehud Armat. Okie dokie. So, that is the Sayanim. Then you see the book of Esther, the tradition of Jewish women particularly going out and seeking men of power, and it could work both ways, both sexes, male, female, homosexual, heterosexual, and marrying specifically to further the interests of Jewish power in the political Zionist movement. That's what this clown's girlfriend really is. That clown. Of course it's a honeypot. Of course it's a damn honeypot. What else do you think it is? The key for me is not his looks. It's half his age, for crying out loud. It's pretty obvious. And yeah. Now, to do with emails. Let's get the emails out of the way. They're not incriminating very much. They're embarrassing. Let me tell you a story I got from Robert Morrow, who wrote the book The Clintons' War on Women with Roger Stone. Roger Stone related this story to him. Donald Trump did make a report to the FBI about Jeffrey Epstein. Trump is a product of Army intelligence. All right, let's go where we really need to go. There's a really good video. Brendon OConnell exposes Israeli yeshiva military academies. We should watch that right now, actually. We'll get there.
It's a bit like ISIS. Everyone would be very worried as Australian Muslims are going to train with ISIS. Well, we have a very big problem with Australian Jews going to train in the yeshiva military academies where they receive training in special forces training. They get their combat pilots from there. They want the best of the best from there. The most committed ideologues to the Israeli state. Explosives training, firearms training, so on. Electronic data intercept, specialists in hardware, software development, all sorts of stuff. They then go from there, and guess what? They come back to Australia, and then they get into a private and military institutions.
I understand all that, and that's very well.
Yeah, indeed. Mike Smirk. Mike Smirk was actually pretty good. Here we are. Alex Jones admits Trump a product of US Army intelligence. Let me find the relevant spot. This is from Monday, 22nd of January 2018. I made this around a month later. Listen to what he says.
Yes, Buck Rogers, let's go, baby. Yeah. Got somebody not out to screw you. But the globalists got us to the point that they were going to shut down free speech, shut everything down, and really bring in nasty stuff. And even large sections of the elite went, you know, this globalism doesn't work so good, and this is really nasty. And
because they wanted to move to the multipolar world order, that's why. Kissinger's.
we don't want to do this. So there's a real war going on in the elite right now. Don't think Trump just did this on his own. He was recruited by patriots and U.S. intelligence agencies, for a fact.
Now, watch his all these hand signals he does now.
Trump was recruited by the U.S. Army. That's a big secret, but you deserve to know what the Democrats already know. You deserve to understand what's really going on. We were being held underwater. The country was being drowned. That's over. And the communist Chinese are crapping their britches right now. It isn't hurting their people that we're having a good economy. That'll help them.
I've been listening and watching Alex Jones for almost 20 years. He's never been perfect, but I've always been glad he was there, even if he is a limited hangout for the patriot libertarian crowd. I've always enjoyed his exposure of legislation stopping people accessing alternative healthcare, forced vaccinations and police raids on peaceful raw milk producers and organic food markets. But now with Trump, Alex has let his full-blown support for Israel and the Jewish Zionist crime network all hang out. Don't you think if patriots within the US intelligence community really wanted a coup, they would have picked someone like Rand Paul to promote? The notion that Trump is the pick for a military coup in America is utterly ridiculous, unless you understand that the real intelligence community behind Trump is Benjamin Netanyahu and Israeli military intelligence and their private helper network operating throughout the US government. Here is what Alex Jones said 2 days later in the first hour of his show, January 24, 2017, Wednesday.
It's happening. They're making their move like they're not giving up. So, as far as I'm concerned, the safest thing to do would just to be have Trump just go ahead and have the army go ahead and arrest these people. That's all. We're in a red alert right now.
Well, I agree, assuming Trump's working for the American people.
Now, we need to have the army just arrest these people. A lot of people that have been listening to the show for 20 years, they go, Alex, in the last segment, you just called for the president, if need be, to use the armed services to arrest the leaders of a criminal cabal openly plotting the president's assassination, the overthrow of our electoral process, the takeover of our elections, and a one-party system to be formed where all political dissent against the leftist, globalist Soros program is outlawed. And yes, that is the only sure, strong response. And then once that group has been removed within the
What's the group, Alex?
Constitution and Bill of Rights, we revert right back to the rule of law. But there is COG provisions, and I guarantee you, George Washington, if stuff like this was going on, would go arrest the people that were doing it.
Now, after you've watched this video, you might be wondering exactly who is going to be arrested. I have a fair idea. It will be real American patriots exposing Israel and the neocon network in the United States. Note also, Alex mentions foreign
This is 7 years ago. Whitney!
agents operating in the US. Will the roundups include AIPAC, the America-Israel Political Action Committee, otherwise known as the Lobby? Of course it won't. Now, did you notice Alex go full bore on the hand signals? I'm not well up on my Tex Mars and Codexa Magica, but you can see Alex clearly make hand signals and then check the camera to make sure he's doing them correctly. If you've been watching, Alex has moved on somewhat from insulting and vilifying Islam all day to insulting China by calling the Chinese people inbred and genetically inferior.
He actually said that. He said it. He actually said it. I couldn't believe it, and I sat there and said, what did you say? Anyway, he goes on to admit that Trump is a product of US Army intelligence. Well, let's keep going.
Don't take my word for it. Go watch him. Jones is pure incitement. That's the job of Jones and InfoWars, to polarize and form the dialectic. There can be no middle ground in Soviet-era psychological warfare operations, because if there is a middle ground, people with differing views can conduct a dialogue, form consensus, make peace, and maybe even form an alliance. And that is something Benjamin Netanyahu and the Jewish Zionist criminal enterprise cannot allow. After all, Bibi is dedicated into making his problem, Muslims who fight back, into our problem. So we'll run off and kill his opponents in the quest for greater Israel. Alex Jones has very kindly given us some good information. Not that most of us didn't already know, but it's good of Alex to confirm the obvious. Donald Trump is a military intelligence psychological warfare operation, as is Alex Jones, and we'll delve more deeply into Jones and his background later. Now I need to correct something. It's not really military intelligence who recruited Donald Trump to assist in the protection racket that is political Zionism and Jewish power. It is the private intelligence network operated primarily by the neocon clique and its poster boy, Benjamin Netanyahu, chief rent boy in the crime bunker known as Israel. Netanyahu is the visible tip of a giant iceberg running from Israeli military intelligence and the Talpiot high technology program, all the way to Sheldon Adelson and the Trump casino drug money laundering network and even ISIS. It's all about drugs, money laundering, weapons sales, and the fulfillment of the Oded Yinon plan in Greater Israel. Donald Trump and his presidency is an integral part of that program. Grassroots awareness has grown about Israel and its role in 9/11. US citizens are dying and becoming state-sanctioned.
Go watch it yourself. It's a good video. I was just enthralled watching it again. I said, man, you did a good job on that, considering you can actually hear noise in the background because I had this old Zoom mic. You hear the but I think I was still in that hotel room, windowless hotel room in Chinatown. So anyway, there we go. Trump is a product of US Army intelligence, the Kissinger network and so on, Cambridge Analytica, NATO, SCL Group. And his job was, of course, to instigate the multipolar world order, do a lot of dirty work because everyone hates him, and they would dump him out and probably replace him with Jared Kushner. That was the long-term plan. So with that in mind, his emails. It is interesting, and I'm not sure I got it exactly right, but I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. Number one, what comes out in the emails is Virginia Giuffre, and I wouldn't believe a word she said anyway. She changed her tune so many times and changed her statements and then got a big bunch of money. I don't even believe she's dead. She's living in my hometown, Perth, Western Australia. It's a classic hideout for protected witnesses from around the world. Their number one location in the world is Perth, Western Australia. Number one. I was told that by a copper. It's the number one place. You'll find a lot of interesting people in Perth, including the man who worked with Muhammad Atta, Tawfiq Ali Sorora, who's in my UN document. Let me pop that up for you now. You can go. This is an incredible doc. You know, every time I go back to it, the amount of information in here is just, even I go, man, that is I can't believe I did that. That was divine. That was because the magical unicorn sent me $20,000 US and which I gave away about half of it, and I wish I'd never done it now. And it gave me time to make this document. It was so important, so they can't F me, disappear me. The truth's going to be out there. So let's go down to Tawfiq Ali Sorora. I got my meeting with Dr. Kevin Barrett. I reported him to the FBI. I'm going to make that video of that. My friendship with Roger Reeves, good old Roger. Roger. I don't know, Roger, when they're ever going to give you that movie deal. He was going to do an Apple TV series. Tarrant Egerton of Kingsman was going to play Roger. And then it all suddenly just whisked away. Where are we? Signed statement from Tony Sammy. Tawfiq Ali Sorora. That's him there. I spent time with him in Acacia prison. We had a long talk. I took a signed statement from him. And what happened is they tried to say he's a fraudster. Well, Daniel Hopsicker looked up his name, Tawfiq Ali Sorora, which he gave me his real name. And sure enough, Tawfiq Ali Sorora was living right next to the Blind Sheikh in New York. That was so interesting. Here it is. I reviewed the address history with advancedbackgroundchecks.com. He lived at an address in Mercy Street in Jersey City. I think he was probably associated with the Blind Sheikh cell at 224 Kennedy Boulevard. They were responsible for the 93 World Trade Center hijackers did indeed visit the area, supposedly obtaining false documents at Fink's training. People sharing the Mercer Street address also used addresses on Kennedy Boulevard. Other interesting characters such as Magdi Ilamir live nearby. Given that you say you found him in a jail in Australia making these claims, I think his address history backs him up rather than anything else. And who was the boss of Acacia Prison, Serco Intelligence? Bill Bosch, former South African intelligence and Jesuit. So these are the people. You will love this. I love this document. Every time I go back to it, I think, wow, I put a lot of effort into that document. And there's... I'll do a video on that opinion piece written about me, where the local paper did come to my defense. They're friends of Tony Abbott, Jesuit priest in training. Funny, all these Jesuits seem to be helping me. Funny that. So it's a bizarre case, and we'll go into there also hanging out with Kissinger and Murdoch and Lord Rothschild himself, and I'm going, what is going on? But let's get back to what we're talking about, which is the emails. The story by Robert Murrow, who wrote The Clintons' War on Women, to me personally via Roger Stone, was that Trump went down in early 2000 sometime, went to his house in Florida, and he said, oh, that's nice. Jeff has got the kids from next door. Their kids are playing in his pool. Well, apparently he went in, saw something going on, ran back out, and went straight to the FBI and reported Epstein and then banned him from Mar-a-Lago. That is true, and I believe it. People will say he likes grown women, he loves big boobs, big hips, big, powerful women. That might be true, but I'm not willing to discount that Katie Holmes story about him anally violating her Roman Polanski style with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not willing to discount that entirely. There are witnesses by what happened. They were terrified. But anyway, because you've got to understand, drugs. There's clearly footage, clearly see it where Trump is off his head on cocaine. He's off his head at the, what do you call it, Disco 51, whatever it's called. He's off his head. Have you ever had high quality cocaine or crystal methamphetamine? Have you had Adderall or dexamphetamines? Makes you very horny, very volume out there, and people do crazy shit. That's how they run the damned porn trade. People doing weird stuff. So don't tell me Donald Trump is beyond it. However, if I was going to have a bet, I'd probably bet it's not. I find it hard to believe, but absolutely not impossible. Not impossible. But I believe he's embarrassed about the emails also too. Here's what you do as a detective. When you get this gossip on everyone, you don't turn them all in, you use them. Now I know you might not like that, but that's how you run your criminal informant network. Now they work for US intelligence. They're working for James Comey. That's all I'm saying. I don't see a big mystery in it all. I also believe that Netanyahu is now literally directly employed by US intelligence, because I believe Sarah Netanyahu is a official asset for American intelligence. Sarah Netanyahu. Trump keeps saying, Sarah, you know, notice that Trump mocks Bibi, hates Bibi. They hate each other, hates him. And he mocks him. And you notice that Bibi's across the table and Sarah Netanyahu is right next door to Trump. Let me see if I can find that clip. Here it is, I done did find it. Let me get this up. Okay, listen to what Trump says. I gotta make this into a little video.
If I didn't, I have a secret weapon. You know what it is? Sarah. It's sitting right over there.
The secret
I have
weapon.
Sarah. As long as I have Sarah, that's all that matters.
No one ever looks deep into that. Sarah Netanyahu is US intelligence, guaranteed. She's always, let me find the article. This is my favorite story ever. I don't know why, it just brings such joy when I imagine her booting him out of the car in her high heels. Sarah Netanyahu claims I threw Bibi from motorcade are delusional. The Prime Minister and his wife arrived in court for a defamation lawsuit regarding claims of a legal marital agreement between the two of them. Prime Minister Netanyahu and his wife Sarah testified in a defamation lawsuit on Monday morning about an alleged secret agreement that detailed marital obligations between the two, which was filed by the PM's cousin, an ex-lawyer, against a former Export Institute chairman that claimed to have seen the document. According to the document, that ex-export official David Artsy claimed to have seen, Netanyahu was allegedly contracted by his wife not to travel overnight without her, because he screws around all the time. At least he has sex with grown women, I guess. We'll give Bibi that, in between genociding people. And to involve her in senior government appointments under legal pain of the transfer of their joint property to her. The senior appointments allegedly would include Mossad, Shin Bet and IDF heads, according to the Israeli media. This agreement does not exist and was not created, said Sarah Netanyahu. It's not nice to say there was an agreement, blah, blah, blah. Despicable claim. One of the alleged defamatory leaks was the claim that Sarah had kicked Benjamin out of his own motorcade. Sarah dismissed the claims, calling them delusional. She asserted that his security team would have presented such an action. If I threw him out of the motorcade, they would shoot me. Netanyahu repeated his point, adding that the story was a lie. What's hilarious, the story goes, she accused him of infidelity, as she usually does. She's half hysterical, whatever. I've grown to like Sarah Netanyahu. I'm a psychologist. Anyone who hates Bibi is a friend of mine. But Sarah was kicking him in her high heels so hard, the bodyguards wouldn't interfere, and Netanyahu had to jump, Miss Signora Mirakowski had to jump out of the car for his own safety, and she ordered the driver to drive off and leave him there. His high heels, I mean, what a classic. Somebody please, Lee, please use that story. Do a video, it'll be hilarious. You know, that's my favourite story. So getting back to Kash Patel, the emails and everything else, this is the infiltration I keep talking about. We go back and I'm working on scripts. I've got a new routine. I'm looking a bit happier. The zinc carnitine and the good old colostrum is working wonders on my gut, as is my quasi carnivore diet. And I'm feeling 1,000. I believe I finally fixed it, which someone told me in an email. Brendon, fix your gut first. 5 years ago, you must fix your leaky gut. Well, finally the message sunk in. But we go back to the Silva Master spy ring, Diane West, Red Thread. Once you understand all these Jewish Bolsheviks that started in 1870, the first penetration wave, then we go into post-1990, the second penetration wave. You had the Emma Golds and all the old Bolshevik communist movement, the good old cross-dresser Hoover was fighting legitimately, and they need to have a little look at Hoover again and his problems, because I think he was trying to fix a few things. Not that I'm Hoover, he was a party remover. What a great song. Him, of course, with the St. Joseph McCarthy, who will one day get his Hollywood movie, maybe. Oppenheimer, how they gave all the atomic bomb secrets and hydrogen bomb to the Soviets. Again, this was the multipolar world order. They couldn't allow the United States to rule, to export the revolution. I've come to free the slaves. Individual freedom, individual engagement in the political process, transparency. Oh my God, they said, stop. We've got to kill this young scorpion. And that's what they've been trying to do. So yeah, honeypot, of course she's a damned honeypot. Based on her background and everything else, and I've done hardly any research on her, but you know, who knows what we can come up with. Let's have a quick look. Come on now. Let's have a look-see. What do we got here? Come on now. Real name. Her professional name is Alexis Wilkins. I found no credible source indicating that she uses different legal names publicly. Alexis Wilkins. Someone might want to look deeply into that. You know, I think you'd be going after someone because he's not classically good looking. Look, he's an alpha male. He looks good in a suit. He's the FBI. Women are attracted to that power. So that's, I think, pushing that as a reason why he couldn't possibly be in love with her, that it must be a honeypot, is not the real issue. We know what the real issue is with Alexis Wilkins. Okay, she states that she is not Jewish, not Israeli, and she has never been to Israel. Okay, well that's pretty damn important, and that's shame on me for not looking harder. That's in the Times of Israel, and they would never lie. Well, actually, the Times of Israel is more truthful than any American publication I know. The lawsuit also says that she has never been an agent for any intelligence agency. Well, that wraps it up for me. It must be true. Her relationship with Kash Patel, the People magazine said they've been dating since at least 2023. The relationship has become public, blah, 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 blah. Assuming this is all correct, I think it's pretty rough going after him over this when there's so many other things, but maybe this is a decoy. Maybe this is a decoy issue. So she graduated from Belmont University in Nashville. She's released country music. She's taken legal steps to defend her reputation. Let's keep going. She denies ever having been to Israel. Okay. I'm not going to go any more into it, I don't care, but she's an Israeli first, blah, 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 but you know what, I think it's a bit rough. I think she might have a case. She might have a case. Hard to say. She's a public figure, and it's very hard. You have to go after a malicious intent. That's very hard to prove. She's going to fail. But yeah, I think that might be a bit of a decoy. A bit of a decoy, because there's other things to talk about. Like, why is it no one in this so-called this new alt media, which is really the mainstream alt media, with old Tucker, Rupert Murdoch's boy, a dog looking for a home. Like I said to someone, any dirt on him? And he said, there's nothing. The guy's a bore. He's a dog looking for a master. He's just always his whole life. Find me a master. He's like a Dick Cheney. He finds power and he serves it. That's the best you got on Tucker Carlson. So, kudos. Do we have? Let's give a cheer. Well done. Well done. Tucker Carlson does not rape children. He doesn't even cheat on his wife. He's not a closet homosexual, bisexual. We'll give Tucker Carlson that. He appears to be insanely boring, but he's a dog looking for a master. The rest of them, well, we don't know. I think you should leave Kash Patel alone and go after other issues. Like, what about the real Sayanim network, Chabad Lubavitch? What about Ann Neuberger? Thank you for the little ChatGPT rundown of her. Why don't we talk about that? In fact, let's quickly pop that up as we finalize this. So this is the ChatGPT sent to me. That is, I had to move it across to hide the person. That's Ann Neuberger, the Hasidic. She's an ultra-Orthodox Jewess. I wonder if she wears a wig. If you remember at the end of The Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson, the devil's in hell, that's actually a woman, but the wig comes off, right? He's talking about Hasidic Jews, the Jewess. And the Shekinah, that's why the devil is a female in that. Here's what we're not talking about as I defend Kash Patel. I know, strange to be doing so. Oh my God, this is quite detailed. Yeah, I prefer ChatGPT way more. So Neuberger she was the former 2IC of the NSA. She's the honeypot we're not talking about. If you get a takeaway from this video, why aren't we talking about Ann Neuberger and the thousands like her? Why aren't we talking about who core codes Microsoft? What happened to Intel? Where was the R&D done for the Intel chips? Israel. Why are we talking about that? We're talking like little gossip. Did you ever think that this might be decoy issues? What about this? What about this Sayanim? What about this Sayanim? Ann Neuberger. All right, that's the takeaway to take. So, please, that's the takeaway. Why aren't we talking about people like Ann Neuberger and all the rest? Well, we will. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a non-issue. The emails, another distraction that are going to go nowhere as per usual. We need to ask these big questions. The real Sayanims in full view. Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, members of a raving, lunatic, filthy, intelligence-affiliated GRU, Ukraine, Russia-based Friends of Vladimir Putin, Chabad Lubavitch, involved in drug trafficking, drug money laundering, blood diamonds. All of them filthy, dirty, racist, homicidal lunatics. Medieval religious lunatics, as the Times of Israel would say in Haaretz. That's the issue. And there are thousands at the highest levels. If we really want peace and we just want to sort this out as a criminal investigation, Tucker Carlson ain't happen with it. These are all details. Kash Patel, that woman, a cursory glance, I thought for sure she's a dual national Israeli, for sure. And of course, well, apparently, when my superficial research, you prove to me otherwise. If you got any more gossip, you let me know. I think this is a complete decoy. Again, Adam Curtis, what does he say? We give them fake issues so they can fight these fake issues, fake cultural issues, drag queen story time. Let's shock them and get them focused and angry and polarized on these issues. Yeah, you seeing this? So there's the issue. Unilady 200, Telpiot program, and that incredible infiltration of the United States and the whole world's critical infrastructure. All right. Please, God bless, please help me, Lord, heal my gut, because now I'm on fire, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling creative. 2 minutes later, I can just fall in a heap and just lie in my bed and go to sleep for 2 hours. Hopefully, I feel I'm definitely on the path. And that colostrum and zinc carnitine, wow, it's definitely healed my gut. Please heal your gut first. So, distraction, emails, distraction. Let's talk about Ann Neuberger. Let's talk about the history of the Silva Master Soya ring. Let's talk about Diane West, Red Thread, her work on this stuff. Let's rehabilitate Joseph McCarthy. Let's talk about all the technology transfer to the Soviet Union. Let's talk about Professor Anthony Sutton, Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler and Soviet technology transfer. Let's talk about those issues. Let's talk about Major Ray C. Jordan. Let's ask big questions. Why a little homo, a little dick-sucking homo called Nick Fuentes, a disgusting little animal of a man, a piece of shit who I'm telling you is being groomed to be killed. They're going to groom him, then they're going to kill him very publicly. You watch. You tell me why it is we're not hearing from Professor Shlomo Sant. We're not hearing from Gilad Atzmon. We're not hearing from Viktor Ostrowski. We're not hearing from Reverend Ted Pike. All right, we're not hearing from a dozen or more high-level people that we can sit down and have a conversation with. What are we going to do with these ultra-Orthodox lunatics? What are we going to do with the basic Orthodox lunatics who we can at least have a discussion? We can have a discussion. As a Talmud true Jew once said to me, Brendon, look, the Talmud and associated writings, Mishnah, Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, right? These are the reactionary diary of a 13-year-old schoolgirl having a bad day. I do love that description. I think it's perfect. He said, these were written in times of great persecution. It's complex, I get it. He said, you're not trying to kill me, I'm not trying to kill you. All we have to do is survive, because within this Jewish tradition, of course, is what? Armageddon, the same. All we have to do is survive, and the tribes dispersed throughout the earth will be gathered up into one place. All right, we can have these discussions. Have you noticed there are no discussions? We just got more polarization, more bullshit. They prop up these bullshit people who continue to say that Al-Qaeda did 9/11. They continue to say, well, we will expose 9/11, while their reporting isn't even 1/10 of Carl Cameron and the Fox News reporting from November 2001. Tucker freaking Carlson, that little fraud, that little dog looking for a master. Shame on these people. This is damage control, the whole damn thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk again real soon. Till then, I leave you with the great F. Scott Fitzgerald. and Bill Cooper. Oh, damn, I don't have it here on my Elgato Stream Deck. I'll have to put it in post. We'll talk again soon. And remember, if you want to talk, you can come to my Substack. Patreon is being deleted. Substack is the place to come to. Link below. Everything is linked below.
F. Scott Fitzgerald, quote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. One should, for example, be able to see that things are hopeless and yet be determined to make them otherwise. This philosophy fitted on to my early adult life when I saw the improbable, the implausible, often the impossible, come true."
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and it's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom. Only freedom.